one. When most people think about going after what they want in life, they imagine themselves running full speed toward it, hands outstretched, determined to grab hold before it slips away. That kind of determination can be powerful, but there's a fine line between committed pursuit and desperate chasing. Desperation isn't just about how much you want something. It's about the energy you project while wanting it. It's the mental and emotional state that says, if I don't get this, I'll be incomplete. That mindset doesn't just drain you, it can also push the very thing you want further out of reach. Desperation carries a subtle but unmistakable vibration. People can sense it in your tone of voice, your body language, and your actions. When you're desperate for approval, success, or love, you're often operating from a place of lack, a place where you believe something essential is missing from your life, and that external achievement or person is the only way to fill that void. The problem is, when you operate from lack, you inadvertently communicate that lack to the world. It's like broadcasting a signal that says, I don't have enough, I'm not enough, I need you to make me whole. Most people don't consciously analyze that signal, but they feel it, and it tends to repel rather than attract. Shifting from desperation to inspiration begins with an internal transformation. It's about moving away from fear-based motivation, where your actions are driven by anxiety about what you might lose or never have, and toward a state of being where your actions are fueled by joy, curiosity, and self-expression. When you act out of inspiration, you're no longer running to escape emptiness. You're moving forward to explore possibilities. You're not clutching at opportunities as if they're your lifeline. You're embracing them as an extension of the fullness you already feel inside. The way you see yourself plays a huge role in this shift. Desperation often comes from believing that your worth is tied to external validation. You might think, if I get this job, I'll finally prove I'm good enough. Or, if I can be in a relationship with that person, I'll finally feel loved. But when you believe your value is conditional, you'll chase endlessly, because there will always be something else to prove, another milestone to reach, another person to impress. Inspiration, on the other hand, arises when you recognize your intrinsic worth, when you understand that you are valuable simply because you exist. From that foundation, everything you pursue becomes an expression of who you are, not a desperate attempt to fix what you think is broken. To live in inspiration, you must cultivate an inner life that is rich and fulfilling on its own. This means doing things that nourish your mind, body, and spirit without any expectation of immediate reward. Read books that expand your perspective, not because you want to sound smart in conversations, but because the ideas genuinely excite you. Work on your craft or skill set, not because you're hoping for applause, but because the process of getting better gives you joy. Spend time with people who inspire you, not because you want to leverage their connections, but because being in their presence helps you grow. When you consistently fill your days with things that light you up, you begin radiating a kind of contentment that is deeply attractive. It's important to understand that this doesn't mean giving up ambition. Inspiration and ambition are not opposites. They can work beautifully together. The difference is that desperation forces you to move from a place of scarcity, where you feel like time is running out and you have to grab everything before it disappears. Inspiration allows you to move from a place of abundance, where you trust that there will always be more opportunities, and you can choose the ones that truly resonate with you. This shift in mindset can transform not only how others perceive you, but also how you perceive the journey toward your goals. Consider the difference between two job seekers. The first has been unemployed for months, and every application is tinged with panic. They send rushed, generic resumes to dozens of companies, agreeing to any interview regardless of fit, and when they do get a meeting, they try to mold themselves into whatever they think the employer wants. They're chasing so hard that their anxiety is almost palpable. The second job seeker, while also eager for work, spends time improving their skills, networking in genuine ways, and carefully selecting positions that align with their values and strengths. When they walk into an interview, they're calm, confident, and able to express what they can offer without begging for the job. Who do you think the employer is more drawn to? The same principle applies to relationships. When you chase someone in desperation, you tend to overextend yourself, always texting first, always rearranging your schedule, always trying to prove your worth. This can create an imbalance where the other person feels pressured or even suffocated. But when you approach relationships from inspiration, you bring your whole self to the table. You're not trying to fill a hole in your life. You're inviting someone to share in the abundance you already have. You're interested, yes, but you're also grounded, self-respecting, and selective. That kind of energy is magnetic because it signals security and self-assurance. Shifting from desperation to inspiration requires patience because it often means slowing down in a culture that glorifies speed and hustle. It means taking the time to ask yourself why you want what you want. Are you trying to prove something to someone? Are you afraid of being left behind, or does the pursuit genuinely light you up inside? When your motivations are rooted in fear, you'll feel restless, anxious, and perpetually dissatisfied, no matter how much you achieve. But when they're rooted in inspiration, you'll find that the process itself becomes rewarding, and each step feels purposeful. One practical way to make this shift is to regularly check in with your emotional state before taking action. If you're about to make a decision, ask yourself, am I doing this because I'm afraid of missing out or being left out? Or am I doing it because it feels exciting, meaningful, and aligned with my values? If the answer leans toward fear, it might be worth pausing. That pause is not laziness. It's a conscious choice to act from the right energy. Over time, this practice retrains your brain to seek opportunities that match your authentic desires, rather than chasing whatever is in front of you out of panic. Another aspect of this transformation is learning to trust timing. Desperation is rooted in the belief that everything must happen now, that if you don't seize the moment, the chance will vanish forever. But the truth is, what is meant for you will come in its own time. Trusting this doesn't mean being passive. It means actively preparing yourself so that when the right opportunity does appear, you're ready for it. In other words, you're planting seeds and tending the soil rather than frantically digging up the ground to see if anything has grown yet. Your mindset towards setbacks will also change when you shift into inspiration. In a desperate state, a rejection or delay feels catastrophic. It's proof in your mind that you're not enough, or that the universe is against you. In an inspired state, setbacks are simply redirections. They're feedback that helps you adjust your course. You can receive a no without spiraling into self-doubt because you understand that your value isn't defined by one outcome. This resilience is yet another reason why inspired people attract opportunities. Others can sense that they're steady, adaptable, and not easily shaken. At the heart of this shift is self-awareness. You can't move from desperation to inspiration if you're not willing to examine your own patterns. Be honest with yourself about the moments when you've tried to force something into existence, when you've ignored your own boundaries, or when you've pursued something purely because you thought it would make you appear successful. Then consider how you can replace those patterns with ones that come from a place of genuine passion and curiosity. This might involve setting clearer boundaries, saying no to things that don't resonate, or even taking a temporary step back to focus on personal growth. When you begin operating from inspiration, you'll notice subtle changes in how life responds to you. Conversations flow more easily because you're not trying to manipulate them toward a specific outcome. New connections form naturally because you're showing up as yourself rather than performing a role. Opportunities appear that you couldn't have planned for simply because you're in the right place at the right time. And you're in those places not out of frantic chasing, but because your inspired actions led you there. Ultimately, shifting from desperation to inspiration is about reclaiming your power. Desperation hands that power to others, making your happiness dependent on their decisions. Inspiration keeps the power with you, allowing you to create, contribute, and connect on your own terms. It's a shift from needing the world to give you permission to thrive, to deciding that you're going to thrive regardless and trusting that. In doing so, the world will meet you halfway. When you live this way, you stop obsessing over who notices you, who approves of you, and who validates your worth. Instead, you focus on becoming the kind of person who lights up their own life first. And once you do that, you won't have to chase as much, because what's meant for you will be drawn to the warmth, the joy, and the authenticity you radiate. Becoming magnetic is not about tricks, charm, or trying to impress everyone you meet. It's about becoming so aligned with who you truly are that you naturally draw in the people, opportunities, and circumstances that match your energy. People often confuse attraction with manipulation, thinking they need to dress a certain way, say the right things, or position themselves perfectly to get noticed. But real magnetism isn't about bending yourself into shapes to please others. It's about standing in your authentic self so powerfully that the right things can't help but be pulled toward you. When you think of a magnet, it doesn't chase after metal. It simply sits in its nature, and the metal comes to it. That's what becoming magnetic means for your life. You embody your truth so consistently that whatever is meant for you recognizes you and moves closer. This requires clarity. If you don't know who you are or what you value, your energy is scattered and your signal is weak. One day you're pulling toward one thing, the next day you're pulling towards something entirely different. But when your values, actions, and vision are in sync, your signal becomes strong and unmistakable. You begin to resonate in a way that others can sense even before you speak. People are naturally drawn to those who seem grounded, who know themselves and live accordingly. It's rare in a world where so many are trying to fit into molds or meet others' expectations. When someone operates from that place of certainty, it gives off a quiet confidence, one that doesn't need to be loud or boastful. Others feel safer around them because their energy is steady, not erratic. This is why alignment is so crucial for magnetism. When what you think, feel, and do are all in harmony, there's no mixed signal. You're not saying yes when you mean no, or smiling when you're deeply unhappy. You are simply real, and realness is magnetic. Becoming magnetic also involves letting go of the need for approval. People can sense when you're trying to win them over, and it often creates resistance rather than attraction. Approval, seeking energy feels like pressure. It makes others wonder why you need them to like you so badly. On the other hand, when you're focused on living your truth and expressing yourself authentically, you naturally stop trying to control how others perceive you. You understand that the right people will be drawn in without you having to perform for them. That detachment from others' opinions is incredibly freeing. And ironically, it often makes people like you more, because they can feel that your connection with them is genuine, not transactional. One of the most overlooked aspects of magnetism is self-respect. If you consistently ignore your own boundaries, overextend yourself, or tolerate disrespect, that you communicate to the world that your energy is easily taken for granted. But when you honor your time, protect your peace, and hold yourself to your own standards, you broadcast that you are someone of value, and others respond accordingly. It's not arrogance. It's a deep understanding that your energy is precious and should be shared thoughtfully. A person who respects themselves will always command more respect from others, and respect is a foundation for attraction. Clarity of vision is another essential component. If you don't know what you want, you're likely to accept whatever comes your way, even if it doesn't serve you. This lack of discernment can scatter your energy and make it harder for the right opportunities to find you. But when you have a clear picture of the kind of life you want to live, the type of work you want to do, or the kind of people you want to surround yourself with, you start making choices that align with that vision. Each aligned choice strengthens your signal. Over time, you become a beacon for the things that match your vision, because your life is consistently oriented toward it. It's also worth noting that magnetism is not about perfection. In fact, perfection often repels people because it feels intimidating or unattainable. True attraction comes from relatability mixed with aspiration. You inspire others not because you're flawless, but because you're authentic and still striving. You show your humanity, your struggles, and your growth. That makes people feel connected to you, and connection is a powerful force of attraction. The energy you carry into a room speaks before you do. You've probably experienced meeting someone who instantly feels warm and inviting, even before a single word is exchanged. That's because our presence communicates more than our words ever could. People pick up on subtle cues, posture, tone, facial expressions, and even the unspoken energy we emit. If you're stressed, resentful, or insecure, that will leak out, even if you try to hide it. But if you're calm, open, and confident in your own skin, others will feel it and want to be near it. Magnetism also grows when you focus on contribution rather than consumption. People who are always taking time, energy, attention, tend to drain others, but people who give freely, whether it's through kindness, encouragement, or sharing their skills, leave others feeling better for having been around them. This doesn't mean you should give to the point of depletion. It means you approach interactions with the mindset of adding value rather than extracting it. This giving energy makes you a person people want in their lives, because you're a source of positivity and growth. Authenticity plays a huge role here. If you pretend to be someone you're not in order to attract others, you might succeed temporarily, but you'll be exhausted trying to maintain the illusion. More importantly, you'll attract people and situations that are aligned with the persona you're projecting, not with your real self. That's why so many people end up in jobs, relationships, or lifestyles that feel empty. They were magnetic for the wrong reasons. True magnetism comes from revealing who you actually are, and allowing that to be the filter for what comes into your life. Becoming magnetic also means being intentional with your environment. If you spend most of your time in places or with people who drain your energy, it's going to be difficult to maintain the kind of alignment that fuels attraction. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, challenge you, and reflect the kind of energy you want to carry. Fill your physical space with things that inspire you. What you see, hear, and experience daily shapes your inner state, and your inner state shapes what you attract. Patience is another critical part of magnetism. A magnet doesn't panic about when the metal will arrive. It trusts its pull. Likewise, you have to trust that what you're aligned with will find its way to you, even if it doesn't happen immediately. Impatience often leads people to break alignment in order to force results, which can weaken their pull. Staying consistent, even when nothing seems to be happening, builds the kind of steadiness that allows the right opportunities to land in your life at the right time. Your habits also define your magnetism. Every choice you make either strengthens or weakens your signal. Eating well, moving your body, resting enough, and feeding your mind with quality inputs all contribute to a vibrant energy that people can sense. Neglecting your physical or mental health sends the opposite message. It's hard to be magnetic when you're constantly running on empty. Taking care of yourself is not just about self-love. It's about maintaining the energy you need to radiate at your best. Perhaps one of the most transformative parts of becoming magnetic is embracing your unique frequency. There's no one else on earth with your exact combination of experiences, perspectives, and abilities. When you try to imitate someone else's style or path, you dilute that uniqueness. But when you fully inhabit your individuality, when you own your quirks, your strengths, and even your flaws, you stand out in a world full of sameness. People are drawn to those who are unapologetically themselves because it gives them permission to do the same. This doesn't mean you never adjust or grow. In fact, part of magnetism is being adaptable without compromising your core values. Life will throw changes at you, and your ability to navigate them with grace shows resilience, a quality people find deeply attractive. The key is to remain anchored in your truth while being open to evolution. That combination of stability and flexibility makes you magnetic in any environment. The deeper truth is that magnetism is not something you chase. It's something you cultivate. It's a byproduct of alignment, authenticity, self-respect, and clarity. When you live this way, you don't have to constantly look over your shoulder to see if the right people or opportunities are following you. They will be. You won't have to explain your value. It will be evident in how you live. When you truly become magnetic, you no longer fear missing out, because you know that what's aligned with your energy will come to you and stay. You stop competing for attention because you realize your presence is enough. And perhaps most importantly, you stop feeling like you have to be everywhere and please everyone, because you understand that your energy is a match for some things and not for others. And that's exactly how it should be. In the end, becoming magnetic is about becoming so fully yourself that you act as a lighthouse. You don't chase ships. You stand tall and shine your light, and the right ones find you in the vastness. And when they do, it's not because you went out of your way to pull them in. It's because they recognized your light as the one they were seeking all along. There is a particular kind of tension that takes over when you feel the need to control every outcome in your life. It's a tension in your shoulders, a tightening in your chest, and a constant buzzing in your mind. You play out every scenario in advance, imagining what could go wrong and how you'll prevent it, what could go right and how you'll make sure it happens exactly the way you want. At first glance, this might seem like diligence, preparation, or even ambition. But in truth, the obsessive need to control outcomes is often rooted in fear. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being overlooked, fear of things not going according to your plan. And the paradox is that the more you try to control everything, the more resistance you create, both within yourself and in the world around you. Trying to control outcomes is like trying to hold water in your hands. You can cup your palms as tightly as possible, but the tighter you grip, the faster it seeps through your fingers. In life, control beyond a certain point has the same effect. You might be able to influence certain steps or shape certain conditions, but the final form of how events unfold is rarely something you can dictate entirely. The harder you push to force a specific path, the more you risk pushing away the very possibilities that could have worked out even better than what you imagined. Letting go of this need doesn't mean becoming passive or careless. It means shifting from a mindset of domination to one of trust. It means doing your part with intention and effort, but releasing your attachment to exactly how, when, and through whom the results will arrive. It's a surrender, but not a defeat. It's the recognition that while you are the author of your actions, life is the co-writer of your outcomes. When you insist on being the only author, you cut off life's ability to surprise you with something better than your limited imagination could conceive. One of the core reasons people cling to control is the belief that if they can just manage every variable, they can guarantee success or safety. This comes from an understandable place. Maybe you've been hurt before. Maybe you've experienced loss or betrayal, and the idea of leaving things to chance feels reckless. But the truth is, no amount of micromanaging can shield you from every possible disappointment. The belief that you can completely engineer certainty is an illusion. Accepting this truth is uncomfortable, but it's also liberating, because it means you can stop exhausting yourself with an impossible task. Think about the times in your life when something amazing happened unexpectedly. A job you weren't planning to apply for, a person you met by accident, an idea that came to you seemingly out of nowhere. Those moments often came not from rigid planning, but from openness. You were moving forward, yes, but you weren't gripping so tightly that you blocked out alternative paths. This is the essence of releasing control. You set a direction, but you allow flexibility in the route. When you need to control every detail, you often fall into the trap of overthinking and overworking. You may say yes to things you don't want to do because you think they might help you influence the outcome. You may obsessively track progress, analyze every small development, and adjust your actions in constant reaction to short-term results. This hyper-vigilance doesn't just drain your energy, it sends out a frequency of anxiety that others can feel. People tend to pull away from those who project desperation or manipulation, even subtly. Releasing control helps you shift into a more grounded, confident energy that is naturally more attractive. Another problem with controlling outcomes is that it narrows your vision. You become so fixated on one exact version of success that you overlook other opportunities. Imagine aiming for a single door while ignoring the fact that 3 windows and a second door have quietly opened nearby. In your determination to force the first door open, you may miss the simpler, more aligned options. Life often has a way of delivering what you need in unexpected packaging, but if you insist that it must look a certain way, you might reject it without realizing it was the very thing you were seeking. Releasing control doesn't mean you stop caring or stop striving. It means you focus on what you can genuinely influence: your effort, your mindset, your preparation, your openness. And you leave the rest to unfold naturally. You trust that the timing and form will be right when it happens. This trust is not blind faith. It is built through experience, by noticing how often life has worked things out in ways you couldn't have planned. The more you practice looking back at your own history and seeing the hidden patterns of alignment, the easier it becomes to loosen your grip on the future. It's also important to recognize that the need to control outcomes can strain relationships. When you expect other people to behave exactly as you want or to meet your every expectation, you're not allowing them to show up authentically. This creates pressure, and pressure can push people away. By letting go of control, you give others space to bring their own strengths and perspectives to the table. You stop trying to orchestrate every interaction and instead allow relationships to develop organically. This makes connections deeper, more genuine, and ultimately more fulfilling. In professional settings, the same principle applies. Leaders who micromanage every detail often create environments of tension and low morale. Team members feel stifled, unable to contribute their best ideas, because everything has to be done one exact way. But leaders who set clear intentions and then allow room for creativity tend to inspire more loyalty and innovation. When you release control, you allow room for collaboration and co-creation, which often produces better results than one person trying to manage everything alone. There's also a profound link between releasing control and personal peace. When you stop trying to manipulate every outcome, your mind becomes quieter. You start sleeping better because you're not lying awake rehearsing every possibility. You stop rushing through your days in a frenzy to make everything happen immediately. Instead, you approach each step with presence, doing what you can in the moment and trusting that it is enough. This kind of inner calm is magnetic in itself. It draws people and opportunities toward you because others can sense that you're not running on panic. Letting go also teaches resilience. When you accept that not everything will go according to plan, you stop seeing every change or obstacle as a catastrophe. Instead, you begin to see them as part of the process. You adapt, adjust, and keep moving without collapsing into frustration. This resilience is highly attractive because it signals strength and adaptability. People and opportunities gravitate toward those who can navigate uncertainty with grace. Of course, releasing control takes practice, especially if you're used to holding on tightly. One way to start is by setting intentions instead of rigid expectations. An intention is about the energy you bring and the direction you move toward. It doesn't demand a specific timeline or form. For example, instead of saying, "I must get this specific job at this specific company by next month," you could set the intention, "I will align myself with work that excites me and allows me to grow." This leaves space for something even better than the original target to come along. Another practice is to consciously pause before acting from fear. When you feel the urge to control, whether it's sending yet another follow-up email, re-checking something you've already confirmed, or pushing someone for an answer, stop and ask yourself if the action is truly necessary or if it's coming from anxiety. If it's the latter, experiment with not taking the action and see what happens. Often you'll find that things resolve without your interference. It's also helpful to remind yourself that uncertainty is not inherently dangerous. We're conditioned to think that if we don't know exactly what's going to happen, something bad must be looming. But uncertainty is simply space. Space for possibilities. Space for new connections. Space for growth. By trying to fill that space with control, you actually shrink the potential of what could unfold. Over time, you'll notice that releasing control doesn't mean you lose influence. It actually gives you more. When you're no longer clinging to one specific outcome, you become more adaptable, creative, and open to opportunities. You start noticing paths you might have missed before. You also become more pleasant to be around, because your energy is lighter and less demanding. People feel drawn to you because you're not constantly trying to steer them, you're moving alongside them. Ultimately, releasing the need to control outcomes is about trusting both yourself and life. You trust yourself to handle whatever comes, and you trust life to bring you what aligns when the time is right. This trust allows you to focus on building yourself rather than obsessing over what's beyond your control. And when you focus on building yourself, your skills, your mindset, your relationships, you naturally attract better outcomes without having to force them. When you stop trying to wrestle life into submission, you make space for it to collaborate with you. You let the current carry you instead of exhausting yourself by swimming upstream. And in that flow, you often find that the things you wanted all along start arriving, not because you controlled every step, but because you were ready to receive them when they appeared. There is a quiet but undeniable truth in life. The most magnetic, fulfilled, and impactful people are those who have invested deeply in themselves. It's not about being selfish or self-centered. It's about understanding that the most valuable asset you will ever have is your own mind, your own body, your own spirit. Everything you do, everything you achieve, every relationship you build is filtered through the person you are becoming. If that foundation is weak, no amount of chasing opportunities will sustain long-term success or happiness. But if that foundation is strong, you don't just attract opportunities, you're able to hold on to them, grow with them, and create even more from them. Investing in self-development means making a commitment to your own growth, no matter the circumstances. It's choosing to spend time learning, building skills, expanding your perspective, and strengthening your emotional resilience. It's understanding that the version of you who will achieve your next goal is not the same as the version of you standing here today. You have to evolve into that person. And that evolution doesn't happen by accident. It happens through intentional action. The most important part of this investment is recognizing that it's an ongoing process. There is no finish line where you suddenly become complete. Growth is continuous, and that's what keeps life exciting. Many people stop investing in themselves once they've reached a certain milestone. A stable job, a degree, a relationship, thinking the work is done. But stagnation sets in quickly when you stop feeding your own potential. The world keeps moving, and if you're not moving with it, you risk falling into frustration or irrelevance. When you commit to self-development, you shift from passively reacting to life to actively shaping it. You're no longer waiting for someone to hand you an opportunity. You're building yourself so that when opportunities come, you're ready to meet them fully. This readiness is a huge part of attraction. People and possibilities gravitate toward those who seem prepared, capable, and confident. If you've ever seen someone step into a role effortlessly or handle a challenge with grace, you've witnessed the power of preparation. That didn't happen because they got lucky. It happened because they invested in becoming the kind of person who could rise to the occasion. One of the core aspects of self-development is skill building. The more skills you have, the more value you can offer to others, and the more confident you feel in your own abilities. This doesn't mean you have to become an expert at everything. It means continuously expanding your toolkit. If you're in business, it might mean improving your communication, leadership, or problem-solving skills. If you're creative, it might mean refining your craft, exploring new techniques, or studying those who inspire you. Whatever your field or interest, learning makes you more versatile and adaptable, qualities that are deeply attractive to both people and opportunities. Another essential component is emotional growth. This means developing self-awareness, emotional regulation, and empathy. Without emotional intelligence, even the most talented person can struggle to sustain success, because relationships are at the heart of almost everything we do. Being able to understand your own emotions and navigate the emotions of others makes you someone people want to work with, trust, and be around. This isn't just about avoiding conflict. It's about building deeper, more meaningful connections, which in turn expand your network of support and opportunity. Physical well-being is also a form of self-development that's often underestimated. Your body is the vehicle through which you experience life, and neglecting it can limit your ability to show up fully. This doesn't mean obsessing over appearance. It means caring for your energy, strength, and health, so that you can pursue your goals without being constantly slowed down by fatigue or preventable issues. Regular movement, nourishing food, and sufficient rest are investments in your longevity and vitality. A healthy body supports a healthy mind, and both together create the stamina you need to pursue your vision. Investing in yourself also means cultivating your mindset. The way you think shapes the way you act, and the way you act shapes the results you get. If you carry a mindset of limitation, you'll only see barriers. If you develop a mindset of possibility, you'll start to see opportunities where others see dead ends. This kind of mental reprogramming takes effort. It involves challenging your own assumptions, replacing negative self-talk with constructive inner dialogue, and deliberately exposing yourself to ideas and environments that expand your thinking. Over time, this mindset becomes your default operating system, making you more resilient and more resourceful. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in self-development is moving from being a consumer of life to a creator in life. Many people spend most of their time consuming, watching, scrolling, listening, waiting, without creating anything in return. But when you create, whether it's a project, a solution, a piece of art, or a new habit, you contribute something to the world that didn't exist before. This act of creation builds confidence and a sense of purpose. It also makes you stand out because creators are rare compared to consumers. People are drawn to those who take initiative and bring new things into existence. A critical but often overlooked aspect of self-development is environment design. You can't consistently grow if you're surrounded by influences that keep you small. This means intentionally choosing who you spend time with, what information you consume, and the spaces you inhabit. If your circle is full of people who settle, complain, or discourage ambition, it will be harder for you to maintain your drive. But if you surround yourself with people who inspire you, challenge you, and model the kind of life you want, you'll naturally be pulled upward. Your environment shapes your habits, and your habits shape your destiny. Self-development also requires patience and consistency. It's easy to feel motivated for a week or two, but real growth happens over months and years of steady effort. The results often show up gradually, sometimes in ways you don't notice until you look back. One day you'll realize that you're handling situations with more ease, that your confidence has deepened, or that the opportunities coming your way are more aligned with your vision. That's the quiet reward of sustained investment. It transforms you so subtly that others may see the change before you do. Investing in yourself also means facing discomfort. Growth often requires stepping into unfamiliar territory, trying things you might fail at, and being willing to look inexperienced or vulnerable. Many people avoid these moments because they want to protect their ego. But comfort zones are deceptive. They feel safe, but they quietly shrink your possibilities. Every time you push past that edge, you expand your capacity. And that expansion makes you more attractive to bigger opportunities. An important part of self-development is learning to measure your progress by your own standards, rather than constant comparison to others. If you base your sense of worth on how you stack up against someone else, you'll never feel truly secure. Because there will always be someone ahead of you in some way. When you measure against your past self instead, you see the progress you're making and stay motivated to keep going. This inward focus keeps you grounded and aligned with your own journey. It's also worth noting that investing in yourself doesn't always require money. Though when you can afford to, spending on courses, books, training, or coaching can accelerate your growth. More than money, it requires time, attention, and discipline. You can learn from free resources, observe people who inspire you, practice your skills daily, and reflect on your experiences to extract lessons. The most valuable investments are often the ones that cost nothing but require you to show up consistently. As you grow, you'll notice that your external reality begins to shift in response. Opportunities start appearing that you once thought were out of reach. People begin to treat you differently, not because they've changed, but because you have. The more you invest in yourself, the more you broadcast confidence, capability, and purpose, and those signals are irresistible to the right people and circumstances. You no longer have to chase as hard because you've become the kind of person opportunities seek out. Over time, this self-investment creates a compounding effect. Each new skill opens doors to other skills. Each connection leads to more connections. Each mindset shift leads to greater resilience, and each act of self-care gives you more energy to keep going. It becomes a virtuous cycle where growth fuels more growth, and your life expands in ways you couldn't have predicted when you started. Ultimately, investing in self-development is about becoming the person who can hold the life you dream of. Many people chase after things they're not yet prepared to sustain, and even if they catch them, they can't keep them. But when you build yourself first, you create the strength, knowledge, and character to not only receive what you desire, but to make it flourish. That is the true power of attraction. It's not just about drawing something in. It's about being ready for it when it arrives. When you live this way, you stop relying on luck or hoping for rescue. You take responsibility for your growth, knowing that the more you invest in yourself, the more life will invest in you. And that is when chasing becomes unnecessary, because you have become the kind of person everything you want is already moving toward.